Hey guys, Awesome Andrew here, and Happy New Year. Welcome to 2025. However, as tradition goes, let's reflect on the previous year before we look at this new year, more specifically, those we lost last year. In 2016, I did my first farewell tour video talking about the musicians we lost in 2015, and I only talked about musicians, singers, and those in the music industry. However, I changed it up in 2017 to talk about actors and other people too, and I feel that in the last couple of years my scope was too large, you can say. This is awesome albums, after all. I kind of feel that going over actors, political figures, etc. feels too broad to me. Honestly, half the people I mentioned I had never even heard of. They were just in a movie I had heard of or assumed they were relevant in some way. So this year I'm stripping a lot of that back to focus mostly on musicians again. That was the plan, but there were some people that we lost that I can't not talk about. I've got maybe 10 or so names that I have to mention, and the rest of the video will be the music industry. Ordinarily, I put the names in chronological order, but these names are more or less wrote down when I thought of them. So, with the exception of the very last one, which is saving the best for last, these are no in particular order. So let's get started. James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader in all the Star Wars movies, as well as Mufasa from The Lion King. Shelley Duvall, the mom from Stanley Kubrick's version of The Shining. Rachel Lillis, voice of Misty, Jessie, and Jigglypuff in the Pokemon series. Akira Toriyama, creator of the Dragon Ball manga and anime, and character designer for Blue Dragon, Dragon Quest, and the Chrono Trigger video games. Richard Simmons, professional fitness coach and promoter of weight loss programs where he was known for his flamboyant energy. Morgan Spurlock, filmmaker and star of documentaries, best known for the 2004 film Super Size Me. Bob Newhart, American comedian and actor for The Bob Newhart Show and Newhart. I knew him best as Papa Elf in Elf. Jimmy Carter, the 39th President of the United States, serving from 1977 to 1981. He was the first and only president currently to have hit 100 years old, being born on October 1st, 1924. Frank Fritz, one of the original pickers from the show American Pickers from 2010 until 2022. Last one in this category, Bella, who was a part of our family since 2008. She was over 15 and a half years old, and if we had her for a few more months, we would have had her for half my life. Alright, now let's move on to the meat of the video, the music industry. Musicians, songwriters, producers, band managers, etc. James Katak, American drummer for Kingdom Come from 1987 to 1989 and 2018 until his death, and Scorpions from 1996 to 2016. Tony Stern, American musician who most notably collaborated with Carole King, writing the lyrics for several of King's songs in the 1960s and 1970s, including It's Too Late. Melanie Ann Sofka, known simply as Melanie, American singer-songwriter known for the 1971-72 global hit Brand New Key, her 1970 cover of the Rolling Stones' Ruby Tuesday, her composition What Have They Done to My Song Ma, and her 1970 breakthrough hit Lay Down, Candles in the Rain, which was inspired by her experiences at the 1969 Woodstock Festival. She was also an Emmy winner in 1989. Barry Jenkins, English drummer for The Animals in 1966, and for Eric Burden in The Animals from 1966 to 1968. Hank Chikalo, American recording engineer whose career spanned over 50 years working with the Monkees, Carole King, Barbra Streisand, and George Harrison. Austin Family Man Barrett, best known as the bandleader of Bob Marley's backing band as well as co-producer of his albums. Toby Keith, American country singer known for the songs Should Have Been a Cowboy, How Do You Like Me Now, and Red Solo Cup. Donald Kinsey, American guitarist and singer, best known as a member of the Word Sound and Power Band, the reggae backing group for Peter Tosh, also recorded with Albert King, Roy Buchanan, and Bob Marley and the Wailers. Henry Fambro, American Hall of Fame singer for the Spinners from 1954 to 2023. Bobby Tench, best known for his work with Freddie King, the Jeff Beck Group, and Van Morrison. Vitaly Kupri, keyboardist for Ring of Fire from 2001 to 2003, and then 2013 to his death, as well as Trans-Siberian Orchestra from 2009 to 2023. John Lowe, English pianist for the Quarrymen from 1958 to 1960, when the Quarrymen evolved into the Beatles. Eric Carmen, American singer, songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist. He was the lead vocalist of the Raspberries from 1970 to 1974, and then 2004 to 2009, best known for the song Go All the Way. He also had a successful solo career and known for the songs All By Myself, Never Gonna Fall in Love Again, She Did It, Hungry Eyes, and Make Me Lose Control. Jerry Abbott, American country music songwriter and producer, and father of Vinnie Paul and Dimebag Darrell of Pantera and Damage Plan. He was also Pantera's first manager, producing their first 4 albums. Leonard Davis, also known as Larry Page, English pop singer and record producer from the late 1950s to the early 1970s. Most of his producer-manager stuff centered on his efforts with the Kinks and the Troggs, even producing the Troggs' hit song Wild Thing. Robert Lee Chan Romero, American rock and roll performer best known for his 1959 song Hippie Hippie Shake. Mike Pinder, English musician and original keyboardist for the Moody Blues from 1964 to 1978. He was also the last surviving member from the group's original lineup. John Lodge and Justin Hayward are not original members, by the way, joining the band in 1966. Duane Eddy, American Hall of Fame guitarist who had a string of hit records in the late 1950s and early 1960s, which were noted for their characteristically twangy guitar sound, including Rebel Rouser, Peter Gunn, and Because They Were Young. He sold 12 million records by 1963. His style influenced many artists, including The Ventures, The Shadows, The Beatles, George Harrison especially, Bruce Springsteen, Steve Earle, and Marty Stewart. John Barbata, American drummer who was active especially in the pop and rock bands of the 1960s and 1970s, both as a band member and session drummer. He served as a member of the Turtles from 1966 to 1969, Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young from 1970 to 71, Jefferson Airplane in 1972, and Jefferson Starship from 1974 to 1979. Dennis Thompson, American Hall of Fame drummer and founding member of MC5 from 1965 to 1972, 1992, 2003 to 12, and then 2022 until his death. He also co-wrote the band's biggest song, Kick Out the Jams. Charlie Collin, American musician and bass player for Train from 1994 to 2003. Doug Ingle, American musician, founding member, organist, primary composer, and lead singer of Iron Butterfly, and co-wrote the band's biggest song, In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida. He was also the last surviving member of the band's 1967 to 1969 lineup. Francis Rodney Zambone, known better as Mark James, American songwriter. He wrote hits for B.J. Thomas, Brenda Lee, and Elvis Presley, including Hooked on a Feeling, Always on My Mind, and Suspicious Minds. Joe Egan, Scottish singer of Stealers Wheel. He wrote their hit song Star and co-wrote Stuck in the Middle with You with Jerry Rafferty. Dave Loggins, second cousin to Kenny Loggins, American singer, songwriter, and musician, best known for his 1974 hit Please Come to Boston, and his 1984 duet with Anne Murray, Nobody Loves Me Like You Do. Jerry Fuller, American songwriter, singer, and record producer. He was best known for writing hit songs in the 1960s, his best-known song being Travelin' Man, which was originally intended for Sam Cooke, but Ricky Nelson recorded it instead, and the record sold 6 million copies worldwide. Fuller wrote 11 of Nelson's recordings, including the U.S. top 10 hits, A Wonder Like You, Young World, and It's Up to You. Jerry Miller, American songwriter, guitarist, and vocalist, founding member of Moby Grape, playing on and off with the band from 1966 until his death. Abdul Karim Duke Fakir, American singer and co-founder of the Four Tops, which he performed in an ensemble under that name from 1953 until his death last year. He was also the last surviving original member. John Mayall, English blues and rock musician, songwriter, and producer. He was a multi-instrumentalist, singer, guitarist, harmonica player, and keyboardist. He was nicknamed the Godfather of British Blues. He had a career spanning nearly 7 decades, first being a part of the Powerhouse Four in 1956 along with Peter Ward. He formed John Mayall and the Blues Breakers in 1963, which had many important musicians come and go from the band, including Eric Clapton, Peter Green, Mick Taylor, John McVie, Mick Fleetwood, Jack Bruce, and many more. Jack Russell, American singer and songwriter for Great White from 1980 to 2001, and then from 2006 to 2011. Brian Keith Herbie Flowers, English musician and bass player for Blue Mink and T-Rex. Will Jennings, American lyricist, known for writing the songs Up Where We Belong, made famous by Joe Cocker and Jennifer Warnes, Higher Love, made famous by Steve Winwood, Tears in Heaven, made famous by Eric Clapton, and My Heart Will Go On, made famous by Celine Dion. George Bruno Zoot Money, English vocalist, keyboardist, and band leader of the Big Roll Band. Money was associated with the Animals, Eric Burden, Peter Green, Steve Marriott, Mick Taylor, Spencer Davis, Snowy White, and many others. John David Souther, American Hall of Fame singer, songwriter, and actor. He was a principal architect of the Southern California Sound, a major influence on a generation of songwriters. He wrote and co-wrote songs recorded by Linda Ronstadt and some of the Eagles songs including Best of My Love, Victim of Love, Heartache Tonight, New Kid in Town, and How Long. He also had a successful solo career with songs like You're Only Lonely and Her Town 2, a duet he did with James Taylor. Dig Diamond, I can't pronounce his real name, Australian bassist and founding member of the Easy Beats from 1964 to 1969, and then 1986. Chris Christopherson, American singer, songwriter, and actor. He was a pioneering figure in the outlaw country music of the 1970s. He wrote Me and Bobby McGee, For the Good Times, Sunday Morning Comin' Down, and Help Me Make It Through the Night. He was also a member of the supergroup The Highwaymen from 1985 to 1995 with Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, and Willie Nelson. Johnny Neal, American vocalist, songwriter, and musician. He was a member of the Allman Brothers Band from 1989 to 1990 and also part of the Dickie Betts Band. Jack Ponti, American musician, songwriter, record producer, manager, label executive, and consultant. He co-wrote songs for Bon Jovi, Alice Cooper, Joe Lynn Turner, and many others. Paul Di'Anno, original lead singer for Iron Maiden from 1978 to 1981, and was on their debut EP, their next two full-length albums, and their first live album. Phil Lesh, American musician, bass player, and founding member of the Grateful Dead, playing with the band from 1965 to 1995 when the band broke up with Jerry Garcia's death. He also wrote some of the band's biggest songs, including Box of Rain and Truckin'. Quincy Jones, American record producer, composer, arranger, conductor, trumpeter, and band leader. He composed film scores for many films including The Pawnbroker, In the Heat of the Night, In Cold Blood, The Italian Job, The Wiz, and The Color Purple. He also co-produced some of Michael Jackson's biggest albums, Off the Wall, Thriller, and Bad. He also produced and conducted the charity song We Are the World, written by Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie, which raised funds for victims of famine in Ethiopia, which became the 8th best-selling single of all time. Shel Talmy, American record producer, songwriter, and arranger, best known for his work in England in the 1960s with The Who, The Kinks, and others. He arranged and produced hits such as You Really Got Me by The Kinks, My Generation by The Who, and Friday on My Mind by The Easy Beats. Vic Flick, English studio guitarist, best known for playing the guitar riff in the James Bond theme song. Peter Sinfield, English poet and songwriter, best known as a co-founder and lyricist for King Crimson from 1968 to 1972. Frederick Colin Peterson, Australian musician and actor, playing with Steve and the Board and the Bee Gees. Mike Pinera, American guitarist, singer, songwriter, and producer, who started professionally in the late 1960s with Blue Image. After that, he joined Iron Butterfly, Ramatom, Cactus, and was Alice Cooper's lead guitarist from 1980 to 1982. Alice Brock, American artist, author, and restaurateur. She owned and operated 3 restaurants in the Berkshires of Massachusetts. The Back Room, Takeout Alice, and Alice's at Avaloq in succession between 1965 and 1979. The first 2 of those were the subject to Arlo Guthrie's song Alice's Restaurant, which in turn inspired the 1969 film. Bob Breyer, American musician and sound engineer for My Chemical Romance. He was the long-tenured drummer with the band, playing from 2004 to 2010. Last one, Richard Perry, American record producer with credits for albums by Harry Nilsson, Barbra Streisand, Carly Simon, Art Garfunkel, Diana Ross, Martha Reeves, Ringo Starr, and many more. There are so many more names I could have mentioned, but even narrowing it to just musicians, we'd be here all day. I just wanted to take a few minutes to go over the ones that meant something to me or I felt would mean something to you. And as always, I would like to end this video saying what I like to say every year. Thank you for your movies. Thank you for your music. Thank you for everything you've given us over all these years. You may be gone, but you won't be forgotten. May your legacy continue to live on in your movies, and in your music, and in our lives. Thank you, and farewell.